The growing crime wave we've been witnessing spiked into a tsunami over the holiday weekend as law enforcement officials nationwide struggle to counter the growing trends. Let's talk about that and President Biden's plans to show up at your doorstep to get you vaccinated with Fox News contributors Leslie Marshall and Jason Chaffetz and the Wounded Blue founder, retired police lieutenant Randy Sutton. Welcome back to all of you.
Thank you.
Hi, Shannon.
Thank you.
All right, I want to put up a little bit of the crime stats we've been collecting from around the country. This shows you the spikes in New York, Chicago, Atlanta, and Minneapolis. We talked about last week that Minneapolis, a judge there actually ordered the city and the mayor to hire more police officers because of what's been going on there. Randy, what do you make about this tonight? And does it say anything to you that Eric Adams, who is probably the most pro-police, it looks like he's now the winner of the Democratic primary and potentially then the mayoral race in New York?
I find that very interesting, and I actually a little heartening, because the people of New York perhaps are finally getting it and realizing that the policies instituted by Mayor de Blasio and their own governor Cuomo have led to this body count that is rising all over the city. You know, when I see Cuomo coming out there and grandstanding about holding gun manufacturers responsible for the crime and the attorney general pontificating about it, it's that absurdity that has led to it's not a spike in crime, it's a tsunami of crime. And it's because of their policies, it's because of failing to hold people accountable for their crimes, and it is continuing on today. And Cuomo is not part of the solution. He's part of the problem. He created this problem.
Well, and one of the things we heard from the police commissioner up in New York City today was this idea that, as you mentioned, people don't think they're going to be held accountable, or they're not ending up with prison sentences, and for serious crimes in some cases, and so they're not very motivated, and they see and look around that they can be back on the streets without much trouble in many cases. Out in the West Coast, we have covered this, but now we have a situation where the Federalist is talking about California stores out there closing early as unpunished theft explodes, because unless you steal past a certain amount, they're not even bothering to arrest or charge people there. It says, amid an ongoing nationwide crime surge, Target and Walgreens locations in various California cities are struggling to combat the rise in retail theft. Their latest approach is to just shorten the amount of time they keep their doors open. Jason, in San Francisco, Target says it's not staying open past 6 p.m. So if you work a traditional office job, when you get off at night, you're not going to have the option to go to Target anymore. They say they just can't control the theft because it's not being prosecuted.
And that's because they're scared. Not only the people that are working at those stores and own those stores, but the poor citizens that are supposed to be there and rely on going to a good place like Walgreens to get their prescription. Look, the Democratic suggestions, the Democratic policy prescriptions are wrong. They're just fundamentally wrong. That's why they're failing. You need cops on the beat, you need consequences for perpetrators, and you need to be able to punish them and prosecute them. And to suggest, as these liberals have in so many of these big Democratic cities, that there will be no consequence for the crimes you commit, guess what? It leads to more crime. And so if you want to change that policy, you're going to need to get rid of the Democrats who are running these cities. You need to put cops back on the streets. You need prosecutors to put them in jail. And the public will learn that there's a consequence, and the people will feel more safe.
Well, and polling shows that people feel like crime is up nationwide, but also in their local communities as well. And polling also shows now, this new ABC News and Washington Post poll, that they actually are laying this at the feet of President Biden. It says the number of Americans seeing crime as an extremely serious problem in the U.S. is at a more than 20-year high. Joe Biden is underwater in trust to handle it. Just 38% of adults overall approve of how he's handling the issue of crime in this country. 48% disapprove. Leslie, bad news for the White House on that front.
Yeah, it is, but I also see the hypocrisy among voters, whether it's left or right, Shannon. If you remember, President Biden has gotten a lot of grief for his crime bill, which, by the way, helped the police, was very, very strict when it came to crime, and certainly when it came to incarceration rates. Now he's getting attacked by some of the same people who have not liked his policies in the past with the crime bill, even though the president has said he does not support defunding the police, even though the president has put forth or has signed policies with there's over $300 billion to state and local governments to help to refund and additionally fund the police departments. And he and moderate centrists like myself in the Democratic Party have been very clear that defund the police is not a good idea. And many of these cities that we are talking about have not defunded the police. They have changed certain things, like in Denver, Colorado. They have a STAR program where they will have a paramedic and a mental health individual handle some calls as opposed to the police department, and some redistributing of funds, not defunding as people would say. In addition to that, also, Shannon, when we look at just statistically crime rates, let's look at Chicago and New York. Although the crime is surging, specifically homicides and homicides by gun, also in places in Chicago, for example, South and West Side, that have typically had higher crime rates, and we're not seeing the crime rates of the 70s in Chicago or the 90s in New York, and there was no defund the police movement at those times in those cities.
Nobody wants to go back to that. Okay, true lightning round. I just need a quick comment from each of you on this idea that both the president talked about today and Jen Psaki at the White House, that people are going to start showing up door to door to go convince people who haven't got vaccinated to get vaccinated. True lightning round. We'll work through Leslie, Jason, then Randy.
Okay, me first. People go door to door and ask you to fill out the census. People go door to door and ask you to vote. Nobody's going to ask you if you had the vaccine. They're simply going to encourage you, if you haven't, to get the vaccine, because remember, we can kill off this virus if enough of us, approximately 2/3, get vaccinated.
No, not the proper role of government.
That's it. Brevity is the soul of wit. Randy, to you.
Okay. Well, I can see that there's going to be some issues, that there are going to be some consequences that take place from that are unintended, and it's going to lead to some more violence.
Let's hope not. Let's hope it leads to healing. We need a little bit more of that. All right, Leslie, Jason, and Randy, thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you, Shannon.